I've promised you that currently Wargaming is doing a content flood, and this tank right here is another one part of it, the Object Kust. I believe it is called Kust because this is how Wargaming wrote it, even though it's a U, I don't know. Any native Russian speaker, please educate me. This thing I can already summarize as being interesting, fairly unique, but it's at a completely wrong tier. This one is tier 8 when it could easily be tier 9 or even tier 10 with adjusted stats. Plus, I have to be honest, on tier 10 this thing might actually be a very interesting gap closer to the Sniper TD role. But I'm getting ahead of myself, and I would like to change to another picture so we can compare it to what we already have in the game. Now, I've decided to compare the Object Kust to two other tier 9 tank destroyers with a siege mode mechanic, being the Su-122V, which has not been seen on this channel yet, and is still in testing, or I don't know what is happening with this thing. By the way, unless that this is a tier 10 tank destroyer, the Su-122, and the S1, which is genuinely one of my favorite tier 9 tank destroyers. It makes so much good money because its standard rounds are perfect. Now, the Kust most likely also goes into this Sniper TD thingy. There are some stats missing on a stats card, which I'm going to talk you through right now, because it is part with the gun. 550 alpha is already pretty darn massive. The main thing though with it is that it has an absurdly long reload time of 17.8 seconds. This gives us a DPM of 1850, which is, yeah, 300 to almost, more than even 400 DPM less than what the S1 has in the end. However, please remember, I did say, or at least right now, I'm coping quite a lot when I'm playing the Teska tank light tank, that the current meta favors higher alpha than continuous damage. So the Kust might actually suit the meta better than what the S1 does at the moment. It has pretty good pen, 280 on its AP rounds, which is great thanks to its normalization. Yes, it is not the 288 of the S1, which has APCR, but with the normalization, dead equal most likely. It is a lot better than the 122V. And it has heat with 320mm of pen, which is also pretty juicy. Now currently when it is in travel mode, it has 3 seconds aim time and 0.43 accuracy, which is basically dead even to the other two tank destroyers. And I'll quickly go to the mobility so we can change the stats quicker around. The mobility 50 kph top speed, 20 in reverse is exactly the same as the 122V. And it has pretty good HP per turn ratio of 18.4. Now let's change to the siege mode mechanics. Is this also changed now? Now it is changed. We sadly have no clue if the Kust is going 5, 10, 7 kph. We don't know that yet. However, what we do know is that when it is accurate, it goes down to 1.8 seconds aim time, and it goes to 0.33 accuracy, which is, yes, it is still the worst of those three vehicles. The interesting thing about the Kust is it has actual gun elevation of -5 already, and it has gun degrees of 3 degrees to the left and to the right. However, this might also just be part of how the tanks work when they have fixed casement turrets. Keep that in mind because, as you can see, the 122 as well as the S1 have also minus and +3 gun traverse ranges to the left and to the right. This is more or less part on how Wargaming internally plans these out. Otherwise, you would have the same issue as you have in War Thunder, where hull aim mechanic barely really works. It's a fix around, and Wargaming implemented it very well for gameplay purposes. With siege mode mechanic, again, gun gets more accurate, quicker aim time, and you get an additional 5 degrees of gun depression. So a total of 10 degrees, which is, hey, that's pretty good. We live with that. That's fine. I like that. That's totally a-okay. Good. The top speed we already discussed. It's actually fairly quickly on its foot, and it has the best HP to turn ratio of these 3 tanks, which is also fairly interesting. Now to the hit points. 1200. It's the same as the 122V. It is 200 more than the S1. It has 110 millimeters of front armor and 350 meters of fuel range, which is the similar across the board. Now, again, we didn't had the 122V yet. You can also see that this is not the 122V. It looks distinctly different. As you can see, it looks a little bit like a Hetzer, doesn't it? It looks like a Hetzer having had a child with a 780 somehow, you know? With how the track layout is, the road wheels is, and I don't know, this wedge shape just looks so Hetzer-esque. And this one is straight. This one almost looks like an ASU 57, ASU 85, I think it is called. But I can now go back to this picture and explain what I mean. If this really has 100 millimeters, 110 millimeters of armor, is this included? It also looks fairly thick. Is this up here a weak spot? Is it even in the middle? It looks like it's to the left, but maybe this is a trick of how the tank is positioned, that it looks like it's to the left and it might be in the middle. But the main thing is, what is the point of this vehicle? We've discussed that the DPM is superbly bad, 1850, 300 to 400 less. Yes, it has 550 alpha, but now it has a lower plate. I hope that is a weak spot. It might be also 110 millimeters, so it would be fairly heavy to penetrate. And it most likely has a cupola. But you could see that the mobility is fairly good. So now I beg the question, why is this thing tier 8? Why? Yes, we don't need more tier 10 TDs, because currently the matchmaker is fairly TD and light tank heavy, which is, to say the least, not that buena, especially when you play absolute garbage like the Tesco. Anyway, I still believe this thing is on the completely wrong BR. Or, well, tier, not BR. We are not in War Thunder. Sorry for that one. Little slip up. It has a stout gun, but it's hampered by bad TPM. And it is most likely hampered by this massive weak spot. So why doesn't it not have this weak spot? Why just not we put it on tier 9 or even tier 10? We don't even need to change much at all, because it already feels very strong just on paper. It basically just needs, maybe for tier 10, it needs a bit more pen on standard and premium rounds. And for tier 8 and tier 10, it needs most likely just some tweaks to the gun, giving it a bit more alpha, or not alpha, DPM. For tier 9, and for tier 10 TPM and more accuracy and aim time stuff. That's it. And especially on tier 10, it would be a more unique experience, because we only have extremas in the sniper TD direction. We have the Stridswagen 103B, which has 390 alpha, amazing DPM, and good mobility. And then we have the Guerrilla 15 with 750 alpha, poor camo, decent mobility, even though it was heavily nerfed several times. And we have the Object 268V5. We are missing the 263 from back in the days. This is what I'm saying. I'm still a boomer. I'm still loving this tank. And it's not on tier 10 anymore. It's now gimped on tier 9. Where it's still insanely strong, by the way. But it just doesn't feel right there. It's so strong with the similar armor. So why not put something like this on tier 10 as a Russian sniper tank equivalent to the Stridswagen 103. It would be a really interesting fit in between those two extreme of 390 and 750 alpha with its 550. But alas, we can only dream, can we? I just want to put you back into the video I did on the Leichter Kampfpanzer 70K. I'm not happy with the video. It should have been better. I rambled too much. I hope I learned from my mistakes. The thing is, this thing used to be tier 10. And it used to be fairly well on tier 10. It was well received by SuperTesters, and then it was gimped down to tier 8. So, I believe the Kust most likely internally was planned to be a tier 9 or even tier 10 tank destroyer. And then it was probably said by somebody from marketing, wait, just make it tier 8 and we sell it. Stonks. And no, just no. Like, this thing, just put it on tier 9, lose it with the gimps, with bad accuracy and stuff like that, and maybe remove the weak spot, and boom! You have a unique tank destroyer. On tier 9 at least, you know? On tier 9 we also don't really have that many very specific sniper tank destroyers. Yes, we have the Waffenträger and we have the 103, but also there, it is fairly would be fairly unique because it could theoretically also drive aggressive thanks to its very heavy sloped armor. But RagingRaptor is back at it again, so I will stop the video right here. I thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to see you around.